Hello and welcome to Smart Company, the podcast. I'm your host, Dave Doerre, and of course, Grace Schroeder joins us as our resident tech expert. Now, today we're joined by Harry Brelsford, founder of SMB Nation and a leading voice in the small business tech world. He's written over 20 books, built a global community of IT pros, and has helped thousands of SMBs stay ahead of tech trends. Harry, great to have you on the show.
Yeah, thanks.
So, just starting from the beginning, that's how we do things here. Tell us a little bit about SMB Nation and the driving reason you started this organization.
Well, let me go back even further, okay? And I'll go quick. I'm accused.
Yeah, you have to because you get up in the years, Harry. You just put people to sleep with starting at the beginning.
Yeah, I know, but here's where I got to where I'm at. So, grew up in Alaska. Grace and I share Alaska in common, and worked on the Trans-Alaska Pipeline through college and some other things, and then finally left with the Exxon Valdez project, moved to Seattle, got in tech. But in 1981 or 82, came off the pipeline, and if you're familiar with field work, when you get off shift, like 16 weeks later, you get a big check, because you're out in the middle of nowhere at pump stations and they have catering. I mean, there's nothing to do, right, but work. And got a big check and went down to the local computer store and bought an Apple II Plus. So this is 82, and got in early. And it was like I instantly fell in love with ADHD. I finally found something that worked for me. Right, is like.
And if you don't mind me asking, how much did you pay for that Apple II Plus, by the way?
Yeah, no, that's a good question. It was $3,500, which is almost $14,000 today. And you got to understand, and I don't mind sharing, but you come off the pipeline with $20,000 cash in that era, dude. That's $60,000 for a college kid,
Yeah.
Right? And boy howdy. So fast forward the movie, got into Novell NetWare. I was a redhead. That's pretty cool. At a savings and loan, basically got paid to learn, go to Seattle, get involved early with Microsoft as a permatemp. And in 97, so now answer your question. In 97, I'm on the inside, and they, behind the scenes, had a product called Small Business Server they were developing, and this is at a time pre-cloud, pre-broadband. I mean, we're using modems, and it was all in one box could handle email, security, the network operating systems, file print, the sort of the 5 pillars of what technology is in a small and medium business. And Grace, you were part of that motion at times. But we really hit about 2003. Typical Microsoft, it took the third try to really hit. And man, when we hit, it was global. Australia led the way on a per capita basis because they don't really have Fortune 500 companies, right? They are SMB. And so I think I made 12 trips. I mean, thank God it was Australia, instead of some other country I won't name because I'll offend somebody, but it was a beautiful thing, and it was all fun and giggles until 2014 when they took the product away, end of life. They took it away and pushed you up to 365, right? They cannibalized it, as they like to do, even to this day. But Dave, to answer your question about 2000, boy, what year should I pick? Let's say 2003. Microsoft wasn't going to do any small business server SBS conferences, so I did. We did one in Indianapolis because if you look at the map, it's kind of the center of the U.S. Like people could drive from Detroit. It was equidistant to everybody as far as the census goes, right? It wasn't like Seattle's way out there, that kind of thing. And so, 150 people at our first go. That led to probably a 14-year, 12-year run of conferences on this product. And much like AI, and we'll mention that in a minute, conferences are hot when they're always out in front a little bit, right? Like you want to learn what's next. And so today, I don't know about you guys, but my junk mail gets full of AI this and AI that, right? Every day. But Dave, we grew along the way. One factoid, and that's probably my story on the community, is we did the Microsoft Partner Magazine for small business partners, and that grew to 60,000 readers, because we wrote on their back. And I had all that in Dynamic CRM, right? That was in my CRM. That went away. I think we did it 4 or 5 years. I've never lost so much money so fast in my life. The nature of the arrangement was I had to run a real magazine. And guys, magazines died. I mean,
Yeah.
What?
yeah.
Okay, no, I believe you.
So we killed it. It was all fun and giggles until it wasn't. But I did get that customer list. Today, my community's down to 30,000 because of attrition, death, divorce,
Retirement.
retirement. Well, people moved on. Once a product hits end of life, that's it, right? People they want new conversations. So today, my community's pretty deep into cybersecurity. Cybersecurity is a slam dunk, right? That's automatic. So I'm spending a lot of time there with the vendors, not only helping them, do branding and visibility and recruit computer guys, but also enter the U.S., right? Enter new markets. Couple of, for some reason, Israel's a hotbed of cyber companies, cyber software, right? And so they want to come to the U.S. And I'm like, well, I'm here. I mean, how can I, Harry in the booth? I mean, how can I help?
Mhm.
Well, so undeniably, you have your ear to the ground in terms of the whole entire SMB, industries and these kinds of things. What do you see as the biggest questions, the pain points, the challenges facing that community moving forward? Would you say?
Well, I think today it's convincing the small business owner that they need a cybersecurity stack, right? That, well, we never got hit. I had a client recently that was exactly that they did not have a cybersecurity stack, and it was bring your own device, BYOD. So everybody had something different, right? I had PCmatic. God knows what my colleagues had. I was on a team. I mean, it's fun, but the owner told me, "Oh yeah, our developers are handling that." And I called Seth, one of the developers, and he goes, "What?" It's like we're not handling cybersecurity. That's you need to talk to your computer guy or Dave. I know we're going there, but managed services provider, MSP, is what they're called today. Whenever you're ready, but that's the biggest pain point is security. AI is still a concept. Down, the flower shop. I'm in the Texas Hill Country. Thank you. The local flower shop. AI doesn't mean anything to them, right? They're more concerned about weddings and funerals, right? So what's AI? And that's kind of the world we live in with SMB, right? We're not on the forefront like the Silicon Valley. We're not.
Right. So, question. So, out of your old community that wrapped themselves around Microsoft Small Business Server, and then some of them evolved, but many did not. When you say the ones that are, your concentration now is in the cybersecurity space in your community,
I'd
what
say
is that? Like, what specifically are they coming in there and implementing? What is the service that they perform start to finish for a small business?
Yeah, a cybersecurity stack, and I'll rattle off a couple. I'm going to forget a couple things, but it's going to be remote monitoring and management. It's going to be automatic updates. It's going to be
Automatic updates of what?
Oh, the software, because cybersecurity changes daily, right? The bad guys. So, you need, now they do use AI to identify threat, I'm
So are
sure.
you saying specifically that an engagement might look like somebody will come in, they will put in a remote monitoring agent on every computer in your company that will allow them to proactively monitor and stave off threats? Is that what the
Yeah,
engagement looks like?
yeah.
Okay.
I mean, most of these small businesses, they just feel like they might be immune from major cyber issues because they're small and not a likely target.
Yeah, that's the biggest challenge is convincing them
Yeah.
that you got to pay to play, right? I mean, you will get hit, right? And again, there's silly statistics, $15,000 denial or 15,000 denial of service attacks, against your server every day, right? There's all these bots trying to break in and guess passwords and all that. I mean, it's real.
But are
And
those threats, like what kinds of things do people still even protect locally on a local server versus, relying on some other infrastructure provider to sort of Google or
well,
Amazon?
if you click the link from the bad guy, it can encrypt everything and you have to pay a ransom. And that includes cloud, right? And you guys read that every day, right? Every day, hospitals, this, that, and the other get hit. And so it's multidimensional, Grace. It's like healthcare, right? Your body's a pretty complex thing, right? And so, you have to ward off arthritis, cancer, cardiovascular disease, right? It's the human body's multidimensional, and that's the same as a cybersecurity stack, right? The bad guys are getting it on,
Well, let me ask you just a follow-up question on that. If you're a small to medium-sized business owner, what are the first few steps you should do if you want to shore up your security?
Yeah, I mean, I recommend my audience, and again, they're now known as managed services providers. You know, let me give you some context. Back in the 90s, they were called Hey You, right? Like you're trotting around the real estate firm, and it'd be like, Hey, you, come here, I can't print. Okay, so they were Hey Yous. And then they became the computer guy. Hey, call the computer guy and get him out here, right, to change the ink on the printer. And we're an industry of acronyms and terms. And so another similar term they like to use, you're a Microsoft partner. You're a partner and you're in the partner ecosystem. But the prevailing word is MSP, and that's not the Minneapolis airport with the same call letters. But does that make sense, Grace? I know you've seen my guys, right?
Yeah, it's curious because I'm just like outside of if we if we bring it up even another level, there are so many jobs now that are kind of new paths forward for people. For example, we have people that are data analysts where they have to reconcile in a semi-automatic way some of the data for our clients. They might have to swivel chair and now all of a sudden they're precision people. They think in a precise way. They pay attention to details. Now those people.
Well, they're annoying as hell, but go on.
Pardon me?
They're annoying as hell, but go on.
But no, actually they're not. And now those people are in our world showing a lot of promise, supporting sort of the QA, training, refining, and evaluation of AI. So there are new roles coming up. I think for everybody that's interested that can go that are very necessary in this new world. And so I wonder if in your ecosystem there isn't room to grow sort of new areas of interest and the forward-looking stuff. Sure, I understand the flower shop and I get 1 million AI emails every day too. And what do you do with it all? Well, I'll tell you this. You're gonna have to do something. Like most of us are gonna have to do something. Our companies are gonna have to do something. personally we're going to have to learn how to coexist, design, deploy, refine agentic workflows. And it is tough to find, where do you plant your first flag there? So what we try to do, and this is something too, your community has such a good, close relationship with their clients. Just finding those bottlenecks of productivity and just knocking them down, one at a time. I do not believe that today's the time to buy some AI product and slam it into your company, because who knows what their roadmaps are going to look like. What are you buying today? What is the world going to look like 12 months from now? I think, in our view, the path forward is to start knocking down those simple use cases that everybody knows. Hey, I know that now I can consume all these PDFs and CSVs and normalize all that stuff using AI. And OCR did a terrible job, so I didn't even try that. I know for a fact this is going to help me. Start there. Realize the savings to propel the future investment in knocking down problem 2, 3, and 4.
Yeah. So Dave, while we're kind of on the topic about the community and I've defined an MSP, let me show you the ecosystem. So we don't really use the word community anymore. We call it a ecosystem. And folks, write this down. I'll show you his name in a minute. Jay McBain is at an East Coast analyst firm. Maybe you've heard of Gardner and Forrester. He was at Forrester. Now he's at Canalys. But I'm going to show you a couple screenshots. And again, Google Jay McBain. Let me just show you his. Well, he didn't even publish his name, just as it sounds, Irish. Jay McBain. What this is the channels ecosystem. And what I wanted to show you, and you can find this, Jay McBain channels. But what it does is it shows how big the indirect channel is, right? A lot of people, like Tesla is direct, right? Tesla basically sells direct, versus Ford and the other car dealers use a channel, right? They use car dealers. And so that's the basic difference. So we're an indirect channel, but what this is showing is the dimensions to the channel behavior. And again, I'm going pretty quick, but it's, almost $8 billion in vendor software revenue today. Yeah, it'd be $8 billion today, headed to 13.5 in a couple of years. So it's a big channel. And the reason I'm showing you this, we have, through channel marketing, we have channel learning, different islands. But what I want to show you is when I talk here in Texas about the oil and gas industry, oil field services, a lot of people think it's just a gas station. Well, it's not. Oil is a complicated industry, right? It's like this. There's all these islands of players in oil. It's global, right? You wonder why, if we're going to drill, baby, drill for more. That's maybe part, you're going to get below the cost of oil and they're not going to drill, yada, yada, yada. But it's also global, right? That the other oil producers have a say in quantity and pricing. Let's move on. There it is, Jay McBain, right there. Jay McBain, Google channels. A new partner focus, go-to-market platforms. So, Grace, look at the word that kind of says the same thing, partnerships and alliances. And so that's going to be critical today, partner-to-partner interaction. And you're in a good position to do that because my guys, they don't do DevOps. They don't do what you do, but they should know you, right, if they bump into it. And Dave and I have had that talk, Grace, you and I have, but look at that, partnerships, alliances. That's where you want to be today. You want a team, right? Because the day of Joe, the computer guy in the white van, going to the local fire stations, going fishing on Friday, that's quickly ending unless Joe is a lifestyle consultant and wants to go fishing on Fridays. That's fine. But this is what it looks like. Again, it's a little more sophisticated. You have to have partnerships with your distributors, that kind of thing. Let's see if he has one more. He does not. I'll go off screen. Folks, Jay McBain. Dave, back to you.
Well, tell us a little bit about, a question concerning MSPs and things like that. What advice would you have for someone that's in the position of consulting MSPs and things?
Yeah, I mean, to me, in full disclosure, I sit on the board. I'm 5 years in of a very small private equity firm out of Tampa, and we roll up MSPs. Now, again, I don't want to mislead you. It's not Wall Street. It's 6 guys and a pizza at a WeWork, okay? And I like it. I mean, I have a board meeting on Friday, so for me, that's exciting, right? I like to do multiple things, but that's my bias, is that if you're an MSP, and I'm working with one here in the Texas Hill Country, he wants to go organically recruit clients. So he wants to go door to door and knock on the printer and the flower shop and the this and that. Man, you'll spend your whole life doing that, right?
Yeah, but don't you ever think that maybe that's what it's going to take? Because we get, since the LLMs came online, we probably get 20 times as many emails. They're better written, but there are a lot more of them. So now we're saying, it used to take like 7 contacts before you would kind of prompt somebody to make a reply. Now that's up to like 15, 17. And I have this notion that it's going to swing back to human.
Well, and that's where I play. I grow by referrals, right? And Grace, you know my story, but some of the work I'm currently doing in cyber for, a bunch of Israeli companies, now that I think about it. But they know me, right? One gentleman is an executive with one in Chicago. Well, I knew him when he was on the way up at Fortinet, a cyber vendor in Sunnyvale in the Valley. Great. This industry, on the vendor side, they play musical chairs, right? They're always hopping. And so you can follow them. And so, no, I support what you're saying. And I grow by referrals. I don't really do, personally, a lot of cold calling. And what I'm recommending to my buddy, an MSP here in the Hill Country, is, we need to be strategic. I get it on organic, but, these are rural towns, and it's like, you either need to be acquired or we need to acquire another small MSP, and that's how you're going to grow rapidly, right? I mean, all of a sudden you have 20 more accounts, right, and they pay. Hey, guys, one thing I didn't mention before we get too far afield is the MSP business model. Is a lot of us were used, and I came through that generation, we're used to billable hours. So something breaks, you bill an hour and fix it, okay? Now what it is it's much more like your mobile phone company. It's recurring revenue. So typically $80 or $100 a seat to per employee at the law firm, and Harry takes care of everything. It's shared risk. Right, so I priced it out. I looked over your inventory. I used a tool, to inventory what you have. I priced it out, and we can go $80 a seat. And then the agreement has exceptions, but that's what it's gone to, is recurring revenue. Grace, and I met you in telecom. Telecom perfected that. I mean, they really, now we're following telecom's lead, right? The monthly bill. Yeah. It's automatic.
Yeah. Well, look, so do you see, though, MSPs just being like security only MSPs, and somebody will have desktop support only MSP, or are more of them all in one, one-stop shops?
All the above, and everybody kind of has their niche. I know one firm that really thrives on training their small business customers. That's one of their pillars, is training in the conference room. There's a whole nother community for CRM, in my case, Dynamics CRM. So that's its whole ecosystem, right? And so we have people that do CRM, and you name it. Everybody's kind of the hot one right now. I really haven't spent time in it, but I know some people, is CMMC. It's Compliance for Department of Defense Contractors. So it's a big, thick document, and it deals with tech. And the MSP who specializes it will go into DoD contractors. Here in Central Texas, we have a couple military bases about 70 miles south in San Antonio, right? So that's just littered with DoD contractors, and they have to be in compliance, and we want them to. And so that's cyber, it's record keeping, it's this, it's that. So not everybody, but Grace, many people have a niche. HIPAA was one of the big ones for a while. So people just get fired up and kind of niche. And I like niches. I mean, I had Small Business Server, and I did do a 2-year tour of duty in analytics, predictive analytics, when the product went away.
I remember that.
Yeah, so analytics, good. I used my brain. I got retrained. Back then we called it machine learning and big data. Now it's called AI.
It's a little different, Harry. It's not actually the same thing.
Yeah. So find your way. Next question, please.
Well, look, I wonder what the opportunity is, because small businesses and people with, and I'll call them seasoned people, with domain expertise, are in a position to codify that now using tools like AI, low-code application platforms, into their own IP. Because the IP is your domain expertise today. It's rapidly less so code as agents take over the responsibilities of writing code. Not going to happen overnight. It is going to happen. So that's where I think, for a small business, MSP, having a relationship with clients with whom they know, they recognize, what, I see you've got like 8 people over there doing something that could well be managed by agentics today. Let's talk about how much those 8 people are costing you, how many of them are going to retire anyway, and how do we sort of offload that expertise into agents, because many of these tasks are working in areas that are not, there aren't a lot of people coming for careers in looking up lean searches,
Yeah.
Right now, we always like to do a thing that we like to call the face palm files, which is when we ask experts in their field, what are some of the biggest what the F business bloopers they've witnessed in their career in terms of I can't believe this is the way they're doing business. So, Harry, with that in mind, what are some things that are maybe one glaring example of something that you just, face, meet palm type situation?
Yeah, I would say founder syndrome. I saw it in myself. Probably, back about the time I met Grace. Founders are tough because they don't want to give up control. They want to do this, they want to do that. And Grace, you'll recall, I got over it once I finally delegated and I hired the infamous Jennifer Hallmark, right?
Yep.
Changed my life, right? Because as a founder, we're riding a wave. It was rock and roll. And, me and QuickBooks and some other necessary tasks, that's not a good idea, right? I need to be out selling and rainmaking. So, Dave, I see it all the time. I saw it at my recent client of founder syndrome, and he was even worse than me. So not only was he involved in every step and working 7 days a week? And I mean, that's not sustainable, especially, when you become a little bit more mature. And um, he, and he's siloed. That's the other thing. We're a really good team, and we talk to each other, of course. I mean, not gossipy talk, but just, hey, what's going on? And I'd be like, really? Really? You're doing that? And then I'd tell him what I'm doing. And I don't run a company that way. I don't believe in siloing. You have to trust the people that you hire, or you don't have a company. So, Dave, maybe that answers the question. I mean, there's specific examples, but that's the overarching one.
Founder syndrome, the number one cause of break room hostage situations. That's a known fact. Well, Harry, thanks so much for coming on Smart Company. Great insight into small and medium businesses, MSPs, the trends. Thank you so much. Grace, as always, thank you for joining us today, and thank you for watching. Take care.